Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On today's episode, we're covering Charles Manson.
Oh, part one of who knows how many. Man, this guy is a cultural icon and just a crazy.
Yeah, Axl Rose actually had a shirt with Charles Manson on it. So did a lot of other people at the time.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, remember this big concert?
I did.
Yeah.
I was not there, but I've seen pictures.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed this one. And speaking of which, if you are, please leave that 5-star rating on Spotify. On Apple, you can leave a written review. And sit back, relax, and enjoy our coverage of Charles Manson.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor.
History.
And copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Hey, this is Dave,
Matt,
And Zap.
and welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder.
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Old Dirty Basement. I am Matt. With me always is Dave and Zap. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing well.
I, too, am well.
That's great. It's getting springtime
No.
here on Radio World.
No.
It's fantastic.
Don't let that heat wave fool you.
Yeah.
It's March.
It was hot. I got shorts on. It's beautiful.
You're thinking one more snowstorm before
No,
it's all.
I'm hoping one more
man, this
snowstorm.
isn't 1994. Come on, fellas.
Dude,
You never know.
that's right. It's Al Gore's climate, so who knows where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the change.
Yeah. So we got a big one today.
Big one.
It's huge.
It's
Big.
it's amazing that it's a name you know. Like, this is right up there with Jack the Ripper.
Absolutely. For me, I was thinking about it. Growing up, I there were two images that even as a kid I knew, like, that's a bad man. Hitler and Charles Manson.
Yep.
Like, I'd always equate that to those are bad guys.
Really, those two.
For like me as a kid growing up, like, those were the two images of people that I knew. Like, I even remember from a young age seeing pictures of Charles Manson and knowing that guy, there's something wrong there, and something bad probably happened there with that guy.
Maybe like the swastika on the forehead.
Maybe
thing.
that was the giveaway.
Yeah.
The only thing that I did remember from this is, it's not giving anything away in the story, is like he did this dance one time. I think it was on like Dateline or some show like that.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys remember that from growing up.
Wait,
What?
no.
No?
Not at all. But maybe, who knows?
No, he was like being interviewed, and all of a sudden he's like, "What? Like this? I'm crazy." And he starts like doing like his hand motion. And he starts like swimming. You guys don't remember that?
I thought that was Tom Cruise.
I was gonna
don't
say.
know.
No,
That
he
was-
jumped on couches.
That was
Yeah.
Tom. That's right. Tom Cruise, once he announced he was in love with what's her name, whom he ended up divorcing.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was Manson or Cruz.
I do know what you're talking about, Matt, but I don't remember a dance, but he had some very entertaining interviews.
Yes, yes.
like
He was a performer.
He was known for his dramatics. And,
That's really the good way to put it. I mean, all around, Charles Manson was, if nothing else, a performer.
Entertaining.
yeah,
That
I mean, in
Yeah.
his own way.
right.
I think he was taller than Tom Cruise actually by like
It's
an
close.
inch. Yeah.
It's definitely close. But, I didn't know. I knew that what Charles Manson, the end product of what happened, which we'll get to, I didn't know all this early stuff. And I think it's interesting to get into that. And that's where we're going to start today. Right, Zap?
oh yeah.
I call it the Manson Wonder Years.
The Wonder
Yeah,
Years.
because we didn't know too much about him.
I knew none of this.
Me neither until we researched for
Yeah,
this.
I mean, this guy really fits a profile of you just knew something was going to go wrong. It happens in so many of these guys that we cover.
Mhm.
Just bad childhood, bad upbringing, bad parents, a non-planned pregnancy. Like, yeah, it's just one of those.
But how you oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
I also didn't know how old he was.
What do you mean?
Like, I thought he was younger. Like, for some reason in the 60s when all this was going on, I thought he was like more early 20s.
Oh, instead of like 40s or whatever
like,
he was.
Like the age difference between him and the people that were involved in this, I was a little surprised by. In my mind, I just always thought of him as very, like,
Like
all
their
about
age.
their age and all about
Yeah.
the same. Yeah.
Again, what Zap was saying also is how, like he said, he was lined up for this lifestyle that he led. But is it always a thing? Like, does that mean if you grow up like that, does it always mean that you're going to turn into a wacky tobacco?
I think this guy chose to be a jack-off.
I agree. I agree.
It's funny you asked that, Matt, because I actually wrote down a question when we get to a certain point. I wanted to ask you guys something along those lines. So.
I wonder if you and I had the same point.
Yep. Yeah.
We shall see.
We shall.
Well, onward and upward, shall we? On we go with Charles Manson. So this cat...
I like that.
This guy was born on November 12th, 1934.
Happy birthday.
To Ada Kathleen Maddox, who was only 15 years old at the time.
Starting young. My goodness.
And his father, Colonel Walker Scott. Now, everyone be clear. Colonel was actually his first name.
Wasn't he in Fast and the Furious?
Oh, that's Paul Walker.
Paul Walker.
Yeah, close.
No, he was in, Chuck Norris played him in a show. He was a Texas Ranger.
Texas Ranger.
Texas Ranger. Yeah.
I was waiting for that one.
So his dad, with that name Colonel, he was a known con artist. Now, this guy was prone to lead people to believe that he was in the military simply by virtue of his first name.
Yeah.
Never play cards with a guy named Colonel.
No.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Guts.
Well, guts. So when old Colonel found out that Ada was pregnant, he skipped town, and he was never to be seen again. Charles never met the guy. Colonel Scott ended up dying of cirrhosis of the liver when he was 44.
That means he's a drinker.
Yeah, 10 years later, he died of cirrhosis.
I was thinking about that name. That's a name like if I name my son Doctor.
Sure.
Like you're giving, I thought of it as like stolen valor almost. Like you're saying you're in the.
That's right on.
But
that is right on.
I asked our buddy, the Colonel, and I texted him. I said, hey, is it kind of a douchey move for somebody to name their kid Colonel? And he said, yeah, I wouldn't. He said it's sacky, which is what we say. That's not good.
Sure.
There's also Major. People name their kids Major.
Sure.
And what was the other one?
I think we mentioned Gunner. And he said that was the less sackiest of them all.
Of them all.
Yeah.
But I just think it's not a good move. I don't know anybody personally named Colonel.
No.
Other than Sanders.
There's but
that birth name, I should say.
But there's names you hear like Hunter, Fisher. Like I see you're pushing your kid in that direction.
Skipper.
Right.
Skipper. That's one. I think that was Barbie's cousin.
That was, he was a friend of Gilligan's.
Oh.
Right.
I thought that was the millionaire.
Yeah, the Skipper. Yeah. But I just thought about that name. That's kind of I'm sure it's not a very popular name. I can't think of anybody else.
I wonder if his dad was like a colonel, maybe.
I don't know.
Or like in the army, or wanted him to be army successful.
Could be.
I don't know.
Odd.
I just look at the girl was 15 years old at the time. Man, she was just giving it away. I'm saying Chuck's mom here.
Yeah. You think that was more... Well, I mean, not that people still don't do it at 15 or whatever like that, but back then it seemed like a lot more marriages at that
100%. Girls you were an old maid if you weren't married by 16.
True, yeah.
Well, yeah, your life expectancy was like 60. Yeah. You're like, wow, they're ancient.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going back to like the Viking ages where it's either like 20 and you have like a full family, you have grandkids. But this was, 15, I don't know, starting off in a small town. Wasn't he from like a small town? Are we getting there? Yeah, we'll get there.
He was born in a small town.
Exactly. That's what I was waiting for.
Oh, wow. Well, afterwards, after the old Colonel skipped town, Ada latched on to and married a local guy named William Manson 3 months before Charles was born. So she had one in the oven. Like, she had one in the hopper. She was, I'm sure, showing.
Right.
And I don't know, she latched on to this dude, Bill Manson.
Well, Bill fell in love. He was just letting loose in there. He didn't care.
Yeah.
He didn't have to worry about
no
nothing.
worries.
Yeah, that's right. It was like throwing a hot dog down a hallway.
Yeah, he's like, hey, we're good.
You're safe.
No, this is not surprising, though. So when Charles was actually born, and I'm saying like when he was spit out of the womb, neither Ada nor William had a name for him. Like his hospital records actually indicate no name Manson at the time of his birth.
Okay, that's not necessarily odd.
Isn't it?
No, I remember when I had my second child, we didn't know what the name was, so it had baby up on the board.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
for like a minute.
Really?
Yeah, because we didn't like know the name quite yet. We're like, oh my gosh, like
How about Matt Baby?
It just had Matt Baby on there.
There you go, Mad
All
Baby.
right.
Yeah.
Matt Baby. Matt Baby. Matt Baby, Matt Baby, Matt Baby.
That's actually Matt Baby is a Urge Overkill song. Matt Baby, you're out of time. Did you ever hear that one?
No, I don't know
It's actually
that
called
one.
Crack Baby.
Oh.
Matt Baby's
I'll have to
fine.
look that one up.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
It's an Urge Overkill song.
So it was surprising to me, just because while I have no children of my own, I just see it all the time that these couples are. It's just day one stuff that they're working on. They're going down the baby names and they're buying baby books and they're doing this, that, and the other thing. But I don't know. I can see what you're saying, Matt, that it's, we're indecisive, or, we're torn between this one or that one, and we're not committed.
Yeah, you get there and it's like, yeah.
Because it's kind of for life.
Right, and the baby comes out, and that doesn't look like whatever.
Yeah, whatever name that you had.
You got to change it up.
Well, ultimately, Charles was chosen to be his name days later.
That's not bad. That's a good name. Chuck. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck. Alas, Ada and William divorced not but 2.5 years after old Charles was born.
You're kidding me.
I'm shocked.
Wow.
I feel shocked. P.S. So just a little on old Manson's mom here, on Charles's mom. So this broad was a terrible drinker, and I mean a terrible drinker, often leaving Charles with whomever was willing to take care of him while she was out drinking.
Oh, Mom.
I mean, just think about that. Hey, man, can you take my kid? I got to go get my drank on. Fun fact. When Charles was just shy of 2 years old, his mom sold him to a waitress in exchange for a pitcher of beer.
Wow, that's pretty raw.
Did you guys catch that?
Where did you see this?
I did hear that and read that in one of the articles.
Indeed. She would go to this local joint and just get, whatever. And she was like, look, man.
Yo, take this baby.
I'll sell you my kid.
Yeah.
Man, I want a pitcher of beer for this baby.
Man,
I'd get more than that.
Dick.
That's pretty insane.
Wow.
A pitcher of beer.
For little Chuck.
In fact, one of Ada's brothers had to go retrieve Charles from the waitress. And then actually, of course, rightfully so, dropped him off back home with his mother. It does leave one to wonder, though. Like, what if he had stayed with that waitress?
What if it turned out better in his life?
Yeah, he could have been like one cool dude.
That's where I was going earlier when you said, Dave, you mentioned you maybe have like a turning point or a question to ask. I thought that was maybe going to be your thing.
No, it's going to be later on, but I did want to talk about where he was born, I guess, it was Ohio, right? But then moved to West Virginia.
Yep.
So
Which is damning.
Well, yeah, and around this time was like right during the Great Depression was going on and all that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that area down there is like a big coal region and stuff. I heard a cool fact about like people that work, and I never knew about this, and maybe you guys can tell me if this is true or not.
I don't work.
Well, but maybe you could tell me if you ever heard this.
Just bang on the drums all day.
So these mining companies would pay people in what's called a scrip.
Correct.
So
I sold my soul to the company's store.
And that they would have a store, like a general store, where that was the only place you could use that script to go buy your food or whatever stuff you needed. So these people that were working in these areas were kind of locked into those areas.
100%.
They couldn't leave. They couldn't go down to, hey, let's go to the beach for the weekend because the money
They didn't have the
good.
money for it.
Yeah. I just thought that was a very interesting thing. I happened to be watching the thing on Appalachia and West Virginia and these distressed areas currently, and they talked about that. Now, this is back in the day. I'm sure they don't do that anymore. But he was living in that area around that time, I'm sure, when stuff like that was going on. So I don't know what their financial situation was, where she was working or what, but I'm sure it was rough. And it didn't seem like a great area.
No.
Yeah, they would overcharge so much too in those places. Like a loaf of bread would be like $1 something at that time. It's like insane amounts of money.
All of their earnings paid by the company was ultimately given back to the company.
Because the company owned the store, so they're making
all of it. It's ridiculous, just ridiculous.
Or a good business. Good business.
That's fair. That's fair. Look, nobody forced their hands to take that
exactly.
job. Right. Nobody was at gunpoint like you have to work here, like you're an indentured servant. That does not exist.
Yeah.
But then again, there was no other work in the area, so people are like, "Shit, what do I do?"
It was depressing.
You work for the money. Wow.
It was a great depressing.
It was.
I guess you sell your kid
for a pitcher of beer.
Yeah, for a pitcher of beer.
I wonder how much a pitcher of beer cost in chits, or what were they called? What did you call them?
Scripts.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least get some wings with the kid. You know what I mean?
know.
Flex the pitcher of beer, or like a liver and onion special.
Something.
Right.
Come on.
You got to shop around a little bit. You know what I mean?
man.
They'd be like, "Damn, girl, that kid's ugly."
Try to
Like, just
bargain.
a pitcher of beer.
Bargain.
This kid's got potential. He's going to be on the cover of Life someday.
Yeah. Well, you could have said that.
He could very well make the cover of Rolling Stone.
Or Rolling Stone, that's what it was.
Yeah, could very well.
Could be.
I'm pretty sure that not the baby daddy, but the married, from whence his namesake came, William Manson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he worked at a laundromat. If it wasn't a laundromat, it wasn't a dry cleaner. It was something like it wasn't, yeah.
He like pressed
Right.
clothes,
It didn't take much. Like yeah.
Okay.
I have one of the mothers, one of the jobs that she did later on in the story. I know something that she did for a fact because it ties into something, but I don't know what she was up to.
Was it prostitution?
She would have been what? No, well, not that. There was something else, but here she's what, like 17? Probably about that 2 years.
There it is. There
Wait,
it
I didn't even
is.
think
She
about
is
that.
only 17.
I guess it all comes back.
It always comes back to Winger.
So was she she was she dabbled in the prostitution, didn't she?
I don't know about this at this point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what she was doing. Maybe
I mean,
her parents.
if you're selling your kid for a pitcher of beer,
Dang, I
You're
know.
I'm pretty
basically-
sure you're dabbling in other things.
yeah, you're pretty desperate.
Well, in fact, so not only was she that desperate for a pitcher of beer, but a little more on this broad. When Charles was 5 years old, his mom was arrested for robbing a gas station. Now, she robbed a gas station wielding a ketchup bottle as a weapon. A ketchup bottle.
Yeah, what's up
That's
with that?
that's intuitive,
not
though.
broke though, not cracked,
Correct.
just like the bottle.
Just the bottle. Like
I don't know, man. You get hit
I'll
with
break
a
this off.
ketchup bottle.
I mean, they're thick.
That would hurt.
They're pretty
Yeah.
thick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As thick as the ketchup therein if it's Heinz.
I hope it wasn't one of those like plasticky ones. You know what I mean?
I don't know if
At
they
least
had plastic back then.
back then. Yeah, probably not.
You know how we stick with like the Dahmer triad? Are we developing some sort of different type? Is there like the Chuck triad taking over?
I mean,
or-
look, so far this guy just had a shit mom, just an alcoholic mom.
Yeah.
Well, Dad's already going out of the picture.
Two
so
of
that's two out of tree ain't bad.
My two dads are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Wow, that's right. Two dads.
Two dads.
I don't see anything about abuse other than she was going to sell him for a pitcher of beer, but I don't know if he was even aware what was going on at that point.
But I mean, if you're willing to do that, there has to be some sort of abuse. Like I'm sure she's not coming to the kid
Well, that also
offering milk while he's crying or anything like that.
that also means he was at the bar with his mom, like when she's.
Well, that's normal. I went to bar with my dad.
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got no problem with that.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily go to the. Well, okay, I guess it was a bar. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to church it up by saying, "Oh, it was the Knights of Columbus," or
It was the fish fry or
It was the Legion. It was a fish fry. Just because there was beer there.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it was a bar, and I turned out just fine.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, I was in them for sure.
I haven't murdered anyone.
None of us are in jail.
No.
And
Yeah.
that's a plus.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yes, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So for robbing the gas station with a ketchup bottle, she was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in jail. During those 5 years, Charles went to live with his aunt and uncle. Now, this is the same uncle who'd returned him to his mother after she'd sold him for that pitcher of beer.
His Uncle Bill.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uncle Bill. All right. So she was paroled after 3 years. And after those 3 years, Charles was reunited with his mom, who continued to spend her free time drinking. Ada and Charles ended up moving a few more times, and Ada eventually joined Alcoholics Anonymous.
Good for her.
Maybe it's like, look, man, I've gotten enough is enough. Time to clean myself up. Maybe. Anyway, at these AA meetings, she met Louis Cavender, whom she married when Charles was approaching 9 years old. So this is man number 3. You had baby daddy, then Bill Manson, and then Louis Cavender.
Instead of my 3 sons, it's like my 3 dads.
Correct.
3 dads. Yeah.
100%.
Louis Cavender sounds like a great dude, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a distinguished name. I like that.
Yeah.
So-
Louis Cavender.
So during this whole time that his mom was in prison, he was living with that Uncle Bill
Yep.
and Aunt Glenna, and she was at the West Virginia Penitentiary, which is in Mountsville, and so this prison was like rough. I mean, big time. So they like he could go in and see his mom, but couldn't physically get a hug from her or anything like that for the whole time that she was there. And they tried to explain to him, like, look, mommy's probably going to be here for 5 years, which ended up being, what, 3.5 years.
Yep.
During that time, he had started school, first grade, and they told a story about his first grade teacher, Miss Varner was her name, was a real ball breaker.
Okay.
And they sent him off to school. He was already kind of a problem, they could tell. There were little things that he was doing. This teacher didn't take shit. So she would basically put her favorite students in the front row, and progressively as you get to the back where the kids that were just going to be a problem, and the kid that would sit in the very last seat was like, there's no hope for this kid. She was good at it. She could tell, like, this kid's not going to amount to nothing, and she would verbally abuse these kids.
God damn.
Well, sure enough, he showed up the first day of school, and she picked him out right away. She already knew the gossip about the mom being in prison and all this. Put him in the last seat and like verbally was abusing him all day in class. He went home running home crying to his uncle.
Yeah.
And back then, and even back then, back when we were kids.
Back when we were kids.
You didn't even, like your dad be like, hey, you don't cry. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You need to toughen up and this and that. Like they would always take the side of the teacher. What did you do that you got in trouble that you're crying? And no, they're making fun of me, whatever. He had a cousin, Joanne, who was 2 years older. That was Uncle Bill and Aunt Glenna's kid.
Okay.
They took one of her dresses. The father, or Uncle Bill said, "You're wearing this dress to school the next day," and made him wear the dress to class the next day. So this is what this kid's going through.
He's gotten it from all angles.
Right.
There's no hope.
So he goes back that next day in the dress, and of course gets bullied and made fun of and all that stuff like that.
Well, see, I saw a story that you were talking about him being bullied. I guess he got some of the older girls like to help him out, like on the playground. So there was these kids from his class that were bullying him, and then he went and talked to these older girls. I guess they said he was like kind of persuasive. He like had a way about him, and he got these older girls to like beat the crap out of like these younger kids for him.
Oh, wow.
And then when they got called into the principal's office, the girls, I guess, took the blame. So it was kind of like dude,
he's a pimp.
Foreshadowing.
Sure.
Well, he tried that in later life.
Well, not only that, but his cousin, this Joanna, who was 2 years older, so 7 at the time, told a story about, now this might have been a couple years later, maybe when he was like 6 or 7, and she was, 9 or 10 or whatever, or 8 or 9. There was a boy bullying him on the playground, and she went over to intervene and got in the way and bit the kid. And the kid ran off, crying. One of the teachers came over and said, what's going on? Why did you bite him? Well, I was defending Charlie, my cousin, and they asked Charlie about it. He's like, I don't know what she's talking about. So he was trying to like frame her and get her.
He just sold her out.
He that's what he said. He was very persuasive.
He would play like mind games and stuff. And the teacher knew like Joanne's a good student. She wouldn't lie. And they knew Charlie was a problem. So they kind of knew he was lying about it. But that's from this early age, he was deceptive and doing stuff like that.
Stop lying.
Yeah. Crazy.
Man. Jeez, all right. Things are already not looking good for this guy.
Let's get him into school.
Well, yeah, not just any school. By the time Charles was 13, he was already a bad kid. He skipped school all the time. He was already doing random acts of thievery. And at this point, at the age of 13, he was placed in the Gibault School for Boys, or Gibault. Like Renault, but Gibault. This was an all-boys academy for bad kids. Shockingly, that was sarcasm.
Yeah.
He hated it there. I mean, you're talking about, discipline and rules and the manners and all kinds of stuff, the way to act. He ran away a few times. And in fact, during one of his runaways in 1948, he robbed a grocery store. And this was his actual first documented crime.
Yeah, that Gibault school was like a Catholic school.
Yep.
They said it was just like, and he didn't do well with any of that stuff.
Catholic boys school.
Yeah, right.
Actually, going to like a Catholic co-ed school was hard enough. God.
Yeah, I know. Well, they did say that he did, when they did, I don't know if it was this early on, but they did give him an IQ test, and he tested pretty high, like in the 120s.
I did hear that. Yeah, he wasn't a dumb kid.
It wasn't dumb. It was just that it had to be something he was interested in and whatever else like that. But back to after his mom's release from prison and all that, she was 24 when she got out, which would put him probably around 8 years old.
8 or 9, yep.
Yeah, 8 or 9. And when she got out, she got a job at, it was called Van's Never Closed Market. It was a grocery store. Okay. And she told a story about he would go in there, he would skip school and go over there and show up. And she'd be like, Charlie, what are you doing? You're supposed to be at school. Like he was playing hooky. And he would go in and bug people in there for pennies.
Okay.
To buy candy and stuff. So he was like, he would go up and give him like a sob story and get money. So he was already taking advantage of people.
He was already a con man.
Already a con man, doing stuff artist. Like that.
A chip off the old block from Colonel.
Yeah. Yep. And, she had her, obviously she was in prison for, what would you say? It was like armed robbery. And
armed with a ketchup bottle.
Yeah. And then she did allegedly get busted for prostitution, like Matt was alluding to, and grand larceny, which I don't know what exactly she did there. But that's where my question came up. So at this point in his life, he's already had all these things happen. the mom's a bad influence, I would say, at this point, because now he knows what's going on.
Mom didn't bother. I had 3 fathers.
So that's where the question comes up, and I think we asked in the beginning, are you a product of your environment, or is he just naturally bad?
I think there was such a lack of environment for this guy. And that's just straightforward. He had no guidance, 0 guidance. He didn't get decent guidance until his mom went to prison and he lived with his uncle. And even then, his uncle was busting his balls. So then I would say he didn't get decent guidance until he was at least 13 when he made his way to the Jabal school.
I agree.
But by then he was already tainted.
Right.
I agree.
You've learned all those behaviors.
But there couldn't have been somebody in that school maybe to see that the kid had problems, or maybe like try to latch on to him, or be that, father figure or whatever in his life. But I guess it's hard when you're at a school for bad kids. I guess they all need help.
It's funny. I watched a movie that's eerily similar to this, as far as the struggling mother with a young child. Now it was a little girl, and it's called The Florida Project on Netflix. Did you watch that?
Yeah, with Willem Dafoe's in it.
Yeah, it's Willem Dafoe's the superintendent or whatever at this motel outside Disney World, and all these struggling families live there.
But that's just real life, man.
Yeah, but the daughter was 6 years old and was learning all this behavior from the mother, and was flipping people off, spitting on cars, swearing, just doing whatever, stealing stuff from the ice cream place. It reminded me a little Charlie Manson, but it just made me think how else is that kid gonna act? That's how her mother is. So
that kid's gonna grow up and be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Promise you.
So a product of the environment, yet no environment to. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a question I wanted to ask you guys. So yeah, check out The Florida Project though on Netflix.
Very good.
You already saw it. It's pretty
very good movie.
When you say that's real life, what are you talking about?
In the Florida Project, the way that these, it's people that have nothing, so they're living in basically motels.
Okay.
There's these motels you buy weekly. There's people constantly moving in and out. The people moving in and out are either they just got out of jail, drug dealers, people that have nothing. There's no cars. They're riding bikes places. Not to say it's a bad thing, but just the way that there's no type of structure. You don't know if you're going to be living there next week, or if you're going to get kicked out because you got the money to pay. It's very interesting, but the way that it's filmed, you can tell it's going on right now. It's not like you're looking at it in the 60s or 70s.
Right.
It's today.
It made me feel like I was watching somebody's life. It's actually the kind of movie.
Okay.
She would turn tricks to, the one guy, she was turning tricks and stole all his magic bands, is what you usually get into Disney, 4 of them out of it.
Damn.
So this guy's on vacation trying to get, some action. He's down there, his wife and family are at the other hotel. And it's crazy, but it made me think of Charles Manson.
But it's people just doing whatever they need to do to survive.
Hustlers, man, hustlers.
And we haven't, none of us could even imagine the kind of, you know what I mean? We didn't grow up perfect. We all had, whatever in our lives. We all had our little bits of shit.
Like your grandma says.
Yeah, everybody got their shit.
Man.
But this was where they were in the toilet, pretty much.
Yep.
Just trying to get whatever they can to get out of there.
Yep. All right. Moving along, in 1949, Charles was arrested for burglary and was sent to Boys Town in Nebraska. Now, within a week of being at Boys Town, he escaped, stole a car and a gun, and he hightailed it to Peoria, Illinois, and committed 2 armed robberies on the way. Now, he was arrested 2 weeks after being in Peoria for burgling a local store at night. He was then sent to the Indiana Boys School, which was a reform school not unlike the Gibalt School for boys. Often beaten, Charles has since alleged that he was raped there by other students. In 1951, at the age of 16, Charles escaped the Indiana Boys School. He was arrested in Utah for having stolen a car and driving it across state lines. That's like that RICO stuff.
Yeah, RICO.
That's absolutely RICO. So from there, he was sent to the Washington, D.C. National Training School for Boys.
I don't think the school for boys is working.
No.
I think they need to reinvent something else here, because all these schools aren't really doing much.
School for Boys, Boys Town.
Boys Town.
Boys School, School for Boys. I mean, there was 4 of them over the matter of 3 years.
Supposedly that Boys Town, there was a movie they made back in the day.
Remember Dangerfield used that in Caddyshack?
He might have mentioned, I don't know, but there were 2 big actors back in the day, I guess probably in the 40s when it came out, that played in the movie, and it was all about this Boys Town. I guess it was like a well-known, at the time, prestigious play. Oh, you're going to Boys Town. It was like well-known.
What?
What, a well-known
yeah.
school for boys?
Yeah. There was a movie that was made.
Huh. I always thought of Boys Town exactly as we had just read it. I thought it was always just for shitbag kids.
It is, but they made a movie about it with two of the actors of the time that were like, I'm going to say, that's not Rooney. What's his last name? He was you definitely know him. I'll have to pull it up.
Rooney?
No, it's
Rooney?
like,
Noonan?
is it Mickey Rooney or
Mickey Rooney
Mickey
was,
Rooney?
yeah.
Could be Ricky.
That's who
Mickey
it
Rooney,
was.
yeah.
It was Mickey
Was in
Rooney.
Boys Town, the movie.
It was a movie, yeah, and it made this like blow up. Like everybody thought, oh, you go to Boys Town, like that's because it was in a movie. They were like, that's a good place to go. You know?
I see. I understand now. Yeah,
Like, They depicted it in the movie.
Dangerfield used it in Caddyshack. He's like, I'm sure there's room for you at Boys Town.
Yep.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Like with the one caddy said, like he had a sob story. And yeah.
Oh, Dave, early on you had mentioned the interview in his obviously his later years
Yes.
where he was doing that dance or that whatever kind of whatever he was
Yeah.
doing. I just envisioned him doing like multiple crane moves from
Yeah.
Karate Kid. Fun fact, it was during somewhere in this stint of being all these random boy schools, that's where he incorporated acting insane in hopes that people would either leave him alone or basically fear
Hear
him.
him. Yeah, I did read that too.
So
He
like
would
a
use it as a
performance.
Defense mechanism.
Yeah. So if in fact the allegation that let's say he was raped, whatever, by these boys in one of these schools during one of his times there, I mean, you know, again, you're like a little dog that's backed into a corner, right? Like you're going to growl and you're going to scrap and you're going to show your teeth. This guy did the same thing. His defense mechanism, he would just act crazy.
Flail around.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they say if you like ever get sent to federal prison. Like, I mean, we're all some like handsome cats. Like if we went there, we'd have some problems.
Hell yeah.
So,
time, yeah.
so
I'm
they
not
say,
built for prison.
yeah,
Me
man.
neither.
So they say like, you know, punch some guy and just act crazy.
Big Stand.
Yeah,
remember that movie?
yeah. Punch the biggest dude in there and just go like act nuts.
Jesus.
You'll be all right.
I'd be in trouble.
That's free advice for anybody out there going to federal prison.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I
guess-
might be able to use that.
I guess if you're just flailing around, for some people, it's just not worth the hassle. Like,
Exactly.
fuck this
Yeah.
guy, you know?
Yeah. This
Correct.
Guy's, this guy's crazy, man.
It's like trying to fight a homeless person. Like, well,
Right.
I'm saying, well, homeless, that's such a politically correct name. A bum.
Bum, yeah.
So if you're trying to fight a bum, if you or starting up a fight with a bum, you've already got a disadvantage because that guy has got nothing to lose.
Right.
He will come at you with anything and everything he's got, and God knows
Shopping cart.
what kind of crazy he's got.
Right.
You know,
whole piece of chicken,
Yeah.
shopping cart.
Yeah.
look, if Charles Manson's mom can rob a gas station or a grocery store with a bottle of ketchup, this guy could probably fight you with a chicken wing.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to talk to J-Dub about that too. How did she get 5 years
For the
for
ketchup bottle?
The ketchup bottle. I guess it is a deadly weapon.
anything could be a
don't know. That's
weapon.
crazy.
That's true.
I'm sure she couldn't afford a lawyer either, but
Right.
I just think that's
Certainly
harsh.
not one of JW's caliber.
No.
That guy's expensive.
Yeah,
God
big time.
damn.
Big time.
Wow.
She do little monies.
Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah,
put that
okay,
in
you
there.
gotta put that
yeah.
in.
So at the age of 18, almost 18, 17 and change. 17
We just
and a
skipped
quarter.
17. We just missed it. We went to 16 to 18.
Yeah. Well,
I'm so
I mean, he was
mad.
still in 17 AG
Okay,
at this time.
that's
So
good,
we're in
that's good.
early 1952. This cat was still at the Washington, D.C. National Training School for Boys. Old Charles decided to rape a boy. As a result of that rapage, he was sent to the Federal Reformatory in Virginia, just outside of D.C. While there, he raped 3 other boys.
a little rapey there.
There you
I
go.
don't-
Good old raping.
Good old rapey.
Rapey Manson. So released in 1954, he was 20 and a half years old. He went to live back with his aunt and uncle. These are the same ones from long, long ago. The ones that
Uncle Bill and
Aunt
Glenna.
Aunt Glenna.
Yeah, and Joanne, the little the cousin.
So this guy is hopeless. I mean, at this point, what can you do?
Where did you find the rapey stuff? Like I must,
It's all over the
You
place.
got to do
Oh, I missed
you
the
gotta do the
rape.
deep dive, man.
I heard of the one rape, but I didn't know he added 3 in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
In later, much decades later interviews, Charles had actually said that he was bisexual. But he
Yeah.
claimed in the 20 teens or in the early 2000s or some shit that he was bisexual. He basically said like, look, I don't care. I've been in prison so long.
It's all the same.
It's just a warm, wet hole to me.
Right. That one too. Like I think that was the one. Unless there was another rape that happened, when he was in prison or in boys' school, where he held a knife to the kid.
So you know what? There's part of me that wants to take back what I had mentioned about his bisexuality, because rape is not in any way, shape, or form a sexual or intimate thing. It is absolutely a crime of rage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This has been a public service announcement.
Well, no, if you just evaluate it, it doesn't take really long to figure that out.
Yeah.
It's so from old Charles' perspective, I mean, look, this guy was just downtrodden from the gate. I mean, he's, beaten up emotionally by his mom not bothering, beaten up by the uncle that made him wear a dress, beat up by the teacher that made him sit in the back of class, beat up by the local bullies, beat up by the headmasters at these schools, beat up by the older boys at these schools.
So the rape was like an anger. It was
correct.
It was like a something that's more animalistic than anything human.
Then I need to release or whatever.
I think it's this guy had been just
a pen up,
beaten and dominated by other people his entire life. Now's my chance
to do it.
I can do it to somebody else.
That's a great point.
I guess this is what you do.
There is something that happened. It was a story, actually. It was told by later on when we get more into the stuff after, when he's out. There was a story about a guy that had a first-hand account of something that happened that we'll talk about when we get to there. That would make me think
foreshadowing
that
killing
maybe
me.
he was bisexual, because this was not under any kind. Although it was in a way. We'll get there.
Well, no, he was a ladies' man. When it comes when we talk later on, like the dude was like daddy long strokes.
Well, it was all about
but the bisexual, with his whole, maybe there was like a little reach around. I don't know. Little Chuck's into.
Yeah.
God damn.
Little Chuck be like, wait, whose hand is that?
Oh my goodness.
Chuck.
Walt, is that you?
Oh shit, what was that movie? The one with the guy from with the German guys to
Sprockets.
No, not Sprockets.
Dieter.
Dieter.
No, they had a whole movie about him. He was the one that was in the movie from World War II. Or no, it was a show. It was a weekly show. Bob Crane.
Oh, you talking about autofocus?
Autofocus, yeah.
That was Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. He's like, yo, man, what are you doing?
Yeah. He was like,
he's like, I thought this was kind of a party, man. He's like, yo.
That was weird. And then he ended up being into it more than Bob Crane was.
Yeah.
Big time.
But I could see Chuck being like that. Like, they're partying. You're like, man, Chuck, is that your hand?
There was another story that, before we move on to his older years here, that in 1947, he got to go home for the holidays, back to that Uncle Bill. And
did he get to go home, or did he escape prison, and that's where he ran home?
No, not he didn't escape prison.
Or one of the boys' schools.
No, they actually, Joanne, his cousin of all people, who seemed like she kind of didn't like him most, you know what I mean, for most of the shit he did as a kid, said, I can't deal with him being home or being away for the holiday. Like, he should come home for Christmas.
Okay.
So she talked him into, I guess, contacting the school, like, hey, let him come home for Christmas. So he got to come there for Christmas, and she got sick. I forget what she had, if it was tuberculosis or something like that, but they were all getting ready to go to church, and she was staying home, like up in her bedroom. Everybody left but Charlie. And he was down there, and he turned the shower on and let the shower run. And she's like, what is he doing? Like, he's not getting a shower. She knew exactly what he was doing. He was getting into the gun cabinet to steal a gun.
Oh.
So the shower was running the whole time, and he was in there like rooting around or whatever. And she was like petrified because this guy's nuts, And then finally the family gets home and the shower's still on, and they go upstairs like, Joanne, why is the shower on? Well, Charlie was down there. I think he was getting in the gun cabinet, and they're like, what? They go down and ask him, and he denies it, but then they find the gun on him. So he was trying to steal a gun. Even when somebody's trying to do something nice for the guy,
right?
He steals from him. He does whatever. It's all about Charlie,
Like a Manson family Christmas special.
It's all about the Charlie, no trouble.
I just thought that was an interesting little story, because it just shows you no matter what you try to do for this guy,
he's going to shit on you.
He's going to shit on you.
Just like he's been shit on himself. This is
true. Is it his fault?
There's a chick.
Is it his fault?
Well, certainly he made the choice, but it becomes a matter of however, I'll give you, Matt, the idea of chicken or the egg, which came first here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Was there an existing disposition, or was it just a product as a result?
Right.
I don't know. I had read someplace, and I apologize for the confusion. I had read someplace that during these stints in the boys' schools, he had escaped at one point. And during one of these escapes that I had mentioned, when he robbed I think it was the one where he robbed a grocery store. It was that Christmas. That
might have been too around that time.
That was his first documented crime. He's just on his way home, and on the way he robs dude, kid's hungry, doing whatever.
Right.
Like he probably stole a loaf of bread or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like Les Miserables or anything like that, but whatever.
The thing is with this guy, Les Miserables. There's so many stories out there on this guy. Literally, there's tons of books and whatever.
Oh my God, yeah.
And a lot of the stories that are out there came from his accounts. People write it down and think it's factual. And
so is that the big allegedly?
Right.
Alleged?
And now, considering this source, you got to take anything this guy says with a grain of salt.
Now, I think this story, like these particular stories, were coming from Joanne, the cousin. Which there again, she didn't like the guy, so she.
What is her recollections of the story? It could be anything.
She could be making shit up just because she doesn't like him, or just to get airtime or whatever, get an article in a magazine, or whatever. So who's to say?
Well, back to the lecture at hand here. But his first major crime was the stolen cars, correct?
I mean, are we talking about going to prison?
Yeah, his first major was the stealing of the cars.
No.
Burglary.
My understanding. So he definitely stole. So there was a couple of things. Yeah, for sure. So there was armed robberies. He stole a car and a gun.
Okay.
I mean, that was in 49.
That's what I was looking
15.
at. 40, yeah.
So I'm sorry. At 49, he was arrested for burglary. Right after that, he escaped, stole a car and a
51
gun.
Stole the car and the gun. Okay. All right.
That might be the one where he went to, what's it called? He went back home for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been that one. But again, even that, he was after that, 2 weeks after that, this was in Peoria in Illinois. He burgled a local store at night.
Damn.
So, I mean, all this guy knows is how to steal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all before like the boy rape.
It's like Ezel.
Yeah.
He steal. He don't kill.
He steal. He don't kill.
All right. So by now what? He's like 20?
21.
21. All right. So all grown up and, not surprisingly, on to prison. Now 21 years old, good old Charlie got married to Rosie Jean Willis. What you talking about Willis?
Yeah.
These names are great. Like you don't hear these anymore. Like Rosie
Jean.
Colonel.
The Colonel for sure. Yeah.
Joanna.
Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah.
You're right. True.
Is it not decidedly coincidental that Charles' birth-named father, what's his name, Manson? I'm almost positive he worked in a local laundry. Like, where they wash clothes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, whatever. And okay.
Not everybody's going to be a doctor, Zach.
I'm just saying. No, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying that Joanne Fabric.
Yes.
And blah, blah.
Washing clothes.
Gotcha. It is quite coincidental. Maybe that's just me being pretty stupid. These two got married, moved to Los Angeles, and they stole a car in Ohio in order to get to Los Angeles.
Hey, you got to get there, man.
You think she knew? Like, I wondered about that. Like, if she was aware it was a stolen car.
Charles shows up. Hey, look what I bought today.
Like, I bought a car, or like, was she unaware? I wonder.
I don't know.
Because I couldn't find whether she was in on it or not. I would imagine she would have had to know.
If a man and woman are having the sexy time, she pretty much knows what
he's up
you
to.
did. Yeah, like he's not bringing the car home. And she's like, "Oh, Chuck, you worked really hard for this."
Yeah,
like she knew. His
finances and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
finances.
I just can't believe how it must have been super easy to steal a car back then. This guy's like left.
I'm pretty sure it was. It wasn't like how it was today.
No computers. It's all mechanical.
2 wires.
Yeah,
it's wires. Yeah.
Boom, boom, and you're
very, very simple.
Well, they could even do it with. I think they like stuck screwdrivers. Yeah, in the ignition. And you could just turn it. Wow. As long as something was in there to make contact.
Hell, anything from I want to say from the mid '90s or earlier, I could start that car with a paperclip.
Oh, really?
100%.
Wow. And plus back then it's so hard to track.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When there's cars, because it's not like you have a computer, you can look it up.
Yeah, everything was so much simpler then.
Yeah. But this guy's back on his shit again.
Back on his shit.
Yeah.
So this guy and his lovely wife, Rosie Jean Willis, Charles was arrested, but he was sentenced to only 5 years probation.
See, that's what I'm talking about. 5 years probation for something like that. His mom got 5 years in prison
for a ketchup bottle.
For a ketchup bottle.
So she's threatening lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Yeah, I guess.
This guy stole a car.
True. I agree.
Stealing a car is a victimless crime.
It is. It hurts no one.
That's what insurance is for.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That's what you pay $800 a month for.
Something
Just
like
in
that.
case something happens.
Fuck it. We should bankrupt the insurance companies and everybody go out steal cars.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 5 years probation. Alas, not surprisingly, Charles failed to appear at one of his probation hearings and fled to Indianapolis, where he was arrested. As a result of that, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Now, while in prison, old Rosie Jean gave birth to Charles Manson Jr. on April 10th, 1956.
Poor kid.
Damn.
Yeah, well, damn. By 1957, she was living with another man. Oh. Old Charles was released from prison in September of 1958.
They say he never got to see his real kid.
His biological didn't bother.
Yeah, like I guess the mom left and was with this new guy, and he couldn't track him down.
That's messed up, man.
I don't know if that, like, because I know he had other kids then, but
He had like 11.
one of the kids ended up committing suicide at some point.
So I am not sure at all how many kids this guy has fathered.
I mean, who knows? Yeah, because he just,
You don't even know.
Yeah,
I know of two that I can speak to. I know of two.
Valentine or whatever,
Yep.
and then this kid.
Valentine and Charles.
And Chuck, yep.
I think this is the one then maybe that I think it was like in 1993.
I got to believe with a name like Charles Manson, and if Charles Manson is your father,
Yeah, well, he changed the last name. but,
you
like,
might commit suicide.
Changed a lot of it.
his last name he took like the stepdad's, so it was like Charles White or something like that. But still couldn't live with the fact that biologically that's my dad, like
Yeah.
that guy, you know.
There was
That guy that Dave thinks reminds him of Hitler is
Well,
that's my dad.
Not reminds me of Hitler.
Hey,
just,
Dad.
just that those two images as a child, when I saw their faces, I'm like,
Yeah,
you know, I
those are
would
the pictures of evil.
I would equate it to
Yeah.
evil. I mean, the Hitler thing, you kind of knew, you heard about.
Well,
like,
yeah,
what he
if-
did. The
yeah.
Manson thing, to be honest with you, with Manson, I always thought he was a devil worshiper, and like I didn't know what it was all about.
Mhm.
Just as a kid, like that's why it's interesting to find out where he came from and really what he was all about,
Sure.
which we will get into. But this early stuff,
he was
is
pretty
interesting.
religious. There was a couple
there's
religious
gonna be a lot of
things
that.
thrown in there.
yeah,
All right. Well, where were we? Oh, yes. Already in prison. His wife left. All right. 1 year later. This is 1 year later. And Dave, I remember you and I talking about this one. He was found guilty of cashing a forged U.S. Treasury check
oh yeah,
and was sentenced to a 10-year suspended sentence and probation.
So that's on top of his 5.
He was done with the. So
He was done with the 5. Okay.
He got the 3 years in prison. So he was on 5 years probation. He skipped probation and was picked up in Indianapolis, where he was then sentenced to 3 years in prison. He served his 3 years in prison.
Okay.
After those 3 years, 1 year later, he was guilty of cashing a forged U.S. Treasury check.
A lot of people do that, though. It's not, I don't think that's that big.
What's amazing about this, at least to me, before we even get to Dave's story, so why did he only get a suspended sentence? A girl whom he'd been pimping at the time convinced the court that the two were going to marry. And that he'd be a changed man as soon as they get married.
Yeah,
Look, I got this. He'll be okay. He'll be all right. Just let him get married to me. We'll be okay.
Well, first of all, pimping ain't easy.
No, it is
It's
not.
not.
Second of all, I don't think he was a very good pimp.
No,
not yet.
Not oh.
not yet.
Well, I don't think back then it was. Okay, well, we'll get into that.
That woman put herself on the line for him, man.
For sure.
Well, so what? In December of 1959, he went on and married that woman, Leona Ray Candy Stevens.
What a name!
Yeah, we like Candy Montgomery.
Ooh.
I just like Leona Ray. Like I think
Leona
that's
Ray,
a kick-ass
country
name.
singer or something.
Yeah.
So that story about Zap's talking about that check. So that was May 1st, 1959. That went down, and it was a U.S. Treasury check for $37.50. That was the amount. And he tried to cash it at a Ralph's supermarket.
Nice.
So I don't know what the hell Ralph's supermarket, but
The Big Lebowski, that's his only identification card, is a Ralph's supermarket
Ralph's
card.
Supermarket.
right. He stole it from a mailbox, which ended up being another crime. So now it's
that's federal.
Two crimes. So
That's
now
correct.
they had to get the Secret Service involved, and there were 2 federal agents that came in to question him about it. They had the check there with his signature on the back. There were 2 of them in there. They're like, "Hey, what's up with this? You signed it. You just want to admit it?" And he was like, "No, that's not me. I didn't do that." they got distracted for some reason, turned around and weren't facing him. Turned around, the check was gone. So they both said that, where the hell's the check? He must have swallowed it. So
What
he must
check?
have crumbled it up and ate it, right? So he's thinking, I got him, because I ate the check. There's no evidence. But the clerk at the supermarket, the arresting officer, and then these two agents all testified they saw the check.
Dang.
So he got hit with it anyhow. But I thought that was pretty wild.
That's what check?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Eat the evidence.
Why not during the 80s? Why wasn't I going mailbox to mailbox during like the holiday season?
You get checks.
Because everybody
Yeah.
sent money in the mail back then.
Yeah.
It was,
Cash.
yeah, nobody really sent checks. It was just cash.
Look, nowadays people just go around Christmas. They just go door to door and they take the Amazon packages.
Yeah, you pirates.
That's another thing too. Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure a thing.
Porch pirates.
Well, that's the
Pirates.
Ring cameras, but I don't think they really catch anybody.
That's when in those porch pirates, there was a news thing, like those bloopers. And the one news lady was like, there's porn pirates on the loose. You know what I mean? Where they mess up. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Made me think of that.
Porn pirates.
Yeah, porn pirates.
Porch pirates. So they come in like a like an old convertible, like
Arr.
You know,
jumping out,
funny-
swords.
JB Smoove is he's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's a comedian and stuff. He had a funny. He was on SNL and he said he had a bit he wanted to do about a pirate with two eye patches. I just thought that was funny.
That's great.
Yeah,
Arg.
yeah,
Oh man, that's good. I'd like to see that bit.
yeah. It'd be funny.
Hell yeah.
It'd be hard to see it if you had two eye patches.
I know.
Mm.
That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Leona Ray, Candy Stevens.
She was
And-
related to Cat.
Could be.
Maybe.
Well, Manson and his wife made their way to New Mexico,
Yes.
and they took a local prostitute with them.
I did not.
Yeah.
You did not know.
So this guy was, you can imagine a parole violation is likely forthcoming.
Absolutely.
So in May of 1960, this is not but 6 months after he's released, Manson is arrested in Laredo, Texas, and was returned to Los Angeles and was ordered to serve his 10-year sentence. Now, this is the one that had been suspended the previous year, right? This is the one that when Leona Ray came in and said, look, suspend that sentence. I'll marry this guy, make him a changed man. Yeah. So he now had to serve that 10-year sentence because he violated his parole. Manson would then spend the next 7 years in prison. Leona Ray was granted a divorce in 1963. Now, it was during this time in prison where Manson learned the fine art of hypnosis.
Yeah, they said he was really into that. And when he was in prison, like he started to read a lot. Like that's where he learned to play the guitar and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
When he
Yeah.
had like all these stints in prison there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I had a fun fact on that too. I don't know if it was at this prison or which prison. You know, when he was in, it would have been in,
This was his second stint.
was it McNeil Island Penitentiary?
If you probably might, I'm guessing you have the same fun fact I do. Does it involve him being in prison at the same time with a famous person?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, it does. This guy's famous, but so I've heard two things on this.
Go for it.
There's a urban legend that he learned to play guitar when he was in prison, and there was a guy in prison at this McNeil Island. His name was Alvin Creepy Karpus.
Yes, I read that too.
Yeah, so he was one of 4 people ever to be named Public Enemy #1.
Yep.
Him along with Babyface Nelson, John Dillinger, and Pretty Boy Floyd.
And Flavor Flav.
Yeah, and Flavor Flav.
Flavor.
Public Enemy #1. That's right. That's right. So he was supposedly in there at the same time as Karpus. Now this is in Karpus's biography later on that he wrote that this little guy comes up to him, hey, can you teach me guitar? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Gives him the guitar. He actually picked it up pretty quick. He said, and he was pretty good, and he could sing.
He was, yeah. He actually, like, if you listen, he does have albums out there. You can listen to a whole. There's actually a Netflix special, I think,
Right.
that's like that has all his songs and stuff on
Not
it.
his music, but
Yeah,
this guy said, he approached him in prison, and at that time, this guy's in prison for probably life at that time or whatever for his crime.
Sure.
So he was probably an older man by that time. But yeah, who knows?
The likelihood of being paroled if you were Public Enemy #1 is slim.
Pretty slim. Yeah.
Pretty-
boy.
Hey guys, can you wrap it up?
Ooh,
Dang, already?
I know that.
Where
happens
does the
fast.
time go?
Definitely does.
That was pretty fun. There's a lot of stuff on this guy.
It does when you consider we're a third of the way through, maybe.
If we're lucky, who
Yeah,
knows?
who
This
knows?
guy's life just goes on and on. It's like onion with so many petals to it.
Right.
What? This when we said about the process, I wasn't going to say real quick. I backed off on that.
Yeah. Gotta
But
watch it.
I'm just throwing this in there. Like all these stories that we talk about with these guys such as Manson, there's always prostitutes involved.
Yep.
I don't know any prostitutes.
Hookers.
Yeah.
Do you guys like in real, like we grew up in the 80s, 90s, but I don't like know any hookers. Apparently back then they were just everywhere.
Hookers have come a long way.
Yeah.
So there are still to this day, I promise you, there are just your standard, what we would understand as being hookers. But now you have arguably legalized hooking, legalized prostitution by virtue of OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Or the interweb, or
OnlyFans in and of itself is legalized prostitution. 100%.
Yeah, because you're physically not touching them, but they're offering a product.
You're real time buying someone to do whatever you want them to do.
To do something.
But
yeah.
even growing up, going to the school that we did, like in the city, I remember like driving around the city. I never saw like women of the night.
Oh.
Like,
State Street and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I have.
did you guys?
Absolutely, I have.
Where was I at?
Yeah, I mean downtown. I mean, not a lot. It's
Not
not.
a- that's what I'm
some of
saying.
the
It wasn't
bigger,
like-
but I've seen that. Yeah.
You'll see hookers on State Street and you'll see them on Verbeck.
But did you ever know? Oh, Verbeck?
Yeah.
Wow.
The street
Live
that leads
right
you
by
to the
there.
Broad Street Market.
Yeah. Because I lived on 2nd and Boas for a while, and I never, like, really, really late at night, you might think like the girl might be a hooker.
Right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. You go up, if you go up to the wrong one, well, just because I dress this way.
Pardon me, miss. Are you a hooker?
I got a sharp 20 in it for you.
That's
like, what?
That Chappelle bit where he goes, the girl's like titties are popping out of her turtleneck, and he goes up to her and he's like, "Hey, baby." And she's like, "Just because I'm dressed this way doesn't mean."
right.
And he goes, "Well, that'd be like me, Dave Chappelle, dressing like a police officer, like walking around. You come up, officer, we need help. Excuse me, just because I'm dressed this way."
Oh, yeah,
He's
right.
like, "You're gonna wear that outfit."
He makes a very good point.
Yeah.
A very good point.
That's what, I walked up to one girl one time downtown. I was like, "Is your name Emerson?" She's like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Emerson, great titties you got there." Just saying.
That's pretty good. That's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. You guys
Or
feel free
she's-
to use that.
You work out. You must be into fitness. That one too, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good one.
How long until I fitness?
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. Manson. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is a good one, man. Definitely a lot of research on this. So we'll definitely be back. You guys got anything else before we wrap it up?
Man, no, I don't need, Mrs. Dave coming down here and cracking that whip.
Yeah.
You need that.
But yeah, we hope you're enjoying that. Speaking of which, like we always tell you, leave that 5-star rating. Tell a friend you're enjoying the show. That's how we're gonna grow, is if you let everybody know you're enjoying it, and we'd appreciate it. Reach out on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, send us a message. We got something wrong or we missed something, let us know. We'll shout it out on the air. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the old dirty basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We outie 5000.